personal cash machine since I had been covering their retirement costs for years. They even wrote, "She's clueless enough not to notice we're taking advantage of her." After discovering this, I decided to sever all ties with them. But before that, I always thought I knew what friendship meant. At 38, I believed I had built a life surrounded by genuine bonds where generosity was not just a virtue, but a lifestyle. My friends, Lisa, Mark, and Emily, were more than just companions. They were my chosen family, or so I thought. I was the one they turned to in times of need, the one who never hesitated to offer a helping hand or a few dollars. But life has a way of unveiling truths you never saw coming. As I stood outside our favorite cafe, the laughter from within cut through the evening air like a knife. Emily's voice, clear and sharp, echoed a betrayal that would change everything. "She's clueless enough not to notice we're taking advantage of her." The words hit me like a ton of bricks, shattering the illusion of our unbreakable bond. Now, as I walked away, the question lingered in my mind. Was I ever really their friend, or just a means to an end? I've always had this knack for seeing the good in people, a trait that served me well in my line of work as a financial advisor. My name is Sarah, and at 38, I've built a life where generosity isn't just a word, it's a way of being. My friends, Lisa, Mark, and Emily, have been with me through thick and thin since our college days. We were like the Four Musketeers or so, I thought. You see, I've always been the one to lend a hand, or rather, a few dollars. When Lisa needed a new car because her old one was on its last legs, I didn't hesitate. When Mark wanted to take his now-wife on a romantic getaway, I was there, with the funds. And Emily, well, she's had her share of financial hiccups, and I've always been her safety net. They'd call me their lifesaver, and I wore that title with pride. But here's the thing about being the generous one, the one who's always there with a helping hand. You start to believe that the bonds you forged are unbreakable, that your friends would do the same for you if the tables were turned. I remember this one time Emily was in a bind, something about her apartment needing urgent repairs. She came to me, eyes wide with worry, and I didn't even blink before writing a check. "Sarah, you're a saint," she said, her voice thick with relief, and I believed it. I believed in the sanctity of our friendship pact, where we'd all look out for each other. But life has a funny way of testing your beliefs. It started with small favors. Lisa needed help with her rent after losing her job, Mark wanted to start a business, and Emily was saving for her dream wedding. I was more than willing to help, seeing their struggles as temporary setbacks. We would often meet at our favorite cafe, where I'd listen to their plans and dreams, feeling a sense of pride in being able to assist. Over time, these small favors grew into larger financial commitments. I was covering their retirement costs, believing it was an investment in our future together. They'd thank me profusely, and I'd feel a warmth in my heart thinking I was part of something special. But was I really part of their future, or just a means to an end? The cafe became our sanctuary, a place where dreams were spun and plans were made. I'd sit there sipping my latte, watching as Lisa's eyes lit up when she talked about her new job prospects, or how Mark's voice would rise with excitement when he shared his latest business idea. Emily, always the dreamer, would sketch out her wedding plans on napkins, her enthusiasm infectious. I remember one evening, after a particularly long day at work, I met them at the cafe. They were already there, huddled together, whispering. When I approached, they quickly changed the subject, but not before I caught a glimpse of a document, something official looking. My curiosity piqued, but I dismissed it, attributing their secrecy to surprise planning for my upcoming birthday. As the weeks passed, the requests for money became more frequent, more urgent. Lisa needed funds for a business venture she claimed would change her life. Mark talked about expanding his business, needing capital for growth. Emily, one evening, after a particularly draining day at work, I decided to surprise my friends with a dinner at a high-end restaurant. The thought of their faces lighting up at the sight of the lavish setting was all the motivation I needed to push through my fatigue. I had made reservations at our usual spot, a place where we'd celebrated countless milestones together. As I approached our table, the familiar warmth of the restaurant enveloped me, but the laughter that reached my ears was anything but comforting. Emily's voice cut through the chatter, sharp and clear. She's clueless enough not to notice we're taking advantage of her. My heart sank. I stood there, frozen, as they laughed, oblivious to my presence. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks. I wasn't their friend, I was their financial crutch. I retreated silently, my mind racing with betrayal and hurt. The walk back to my car felt like a march through a storm of emotions. What would I do now that the truth was out? The question echoed in my head, a relentless drumbeat of doubt and confusion. I drove home in a daze, the city lights blurring into streaks of color. Once inside, I collapsed onto my couch, the weight of their words pressing down on me. I replayed every moment, every favor, every dollar I had given. Had it all been a facade? Were my friends, my confidants, nothing more than opportunists? The night stretched on, and sleep eluded me. I found myself pacing, the silence of my apartment amplifying the turmoil within. I needed to confront them, but how? The thought of facing their deceit head-on was daunting, yet necessary. I couldn't let this fester, couldn't let their betrayal define our friendship, or what I thought was friendship. By morning, I had made up my mind. I would invite them over, under the guise of a casual get-together. I'd confront them, not with anger, but with the cold, hard truth of their actions. I needed to see their faces when they realized I knew everything. The day dragged on, each minute, feeling like an hour. When evening finally arrived, I prepared a simple dinner, my heart pounding. The next few days were a blur. I avoided their calls, their texts, their attempts to reach out. I couldn't face them, not after what I'd heard. Every time my phone buzzed, my heart would leap into my throat, only to sink back down with the realization that it was them again, trying to reach me. I started to reflect on every moment, every dollar spent. Was my generosity a mistake? Had I been blind to their true intentions? I began to document everything, every transaction, every promise made. I needed to understand the extent of their manipulation. I dug through old emails, bank statements, and text messages, piecing together a timeline of our interactions. Each entry was like a puzzle piece, and as I connected them, the picture became clearer. The financial support I had given, the countless times I had been there for them, it all seemed so calculated now. My resolve hardened with each discovery. I wasn't just going to walk away. I was going to confront them with the truth. I imagined their faces when I would lay out the evidence, the shock, the denial, perhaps even the audacity to lie further. Would they have the audacity to deny it? Spent hours at my desk, the glow of my computer screen the only light in the room, as I compiled a detailed report. It was meticulous, almost forensic in its detail. Dates, amounts, and the context of each transaction were noted. I even included transcripts of our conversations where they had promised repayment or shared their dreams that I had funded. The weight of betrayal was heavy, but with every piece of evidence I gathered, I felt a surge of empowerment. I was no longer the naive Sarah, the one who believed in the sanctity of friendship over all else. I was now the Sarah who was about to expose the truth, to confront the reality of what our friendship had become. I rehearsed what I would say, how I would present the facts. There was no room for anger, only for the cold, hard truth. I envisioned the moment when I would sit them down, perhaps in the same cafe where we had shared so many dreams, and reveal the extent of their deceit. I arranged a meeting at the same cafe where our friendship had flourished. They arrived, unsuspecting, with their usual cheerful demeanor. I laid out the documents, the messages, the evidence of their deceit. Their faces fell as I spoke, revealing the depth of their betrayal. "You've used me," I said, my voice steady but cold. "And now, I'm done." The silence was deafening. Mark tried to speak, but I cut him off. "I'm severing all ties. No more money, no more friendship." I stood up, leaving them with their guilt and my dignity intact. As I walked away, I could feel the weight of their stares on my back. The cafe, once a place of laughter and shared dreams, now felt like a stage where the final act of a tragedy had just played out. I stepped outside, the cool air hitting my face, a stark contrast to the heat of betrayal that had just transpired. I walked down the street, each step echoing with the finality of my decision. The city buzzed around me, oblivious to the storm that had just passed through my life. I couldn't help but wonder, what would life be like without them? The thought was both liberating and terrifying. For so long, they had been my confidants, my support system, or so I believed. Now, the realization that I had been nothing more than a financial resource to them left a void. But in that void, there was also space for something new, something real. I imagined my days without the constant request for help, without the pretense of friendship that masked their true intentions. There would be no more late-night calls asking for emergency funds, no more excuses for why they couldn't repay me. Instead, there would be peace, perhaps solitude, but peace nonetheless. Would I miss the camaraderie, the shared history? Maybe. But the pain of their betrayal was a sharp reminder that what we had wasn't real friendship. It was a transaction, and I was the one who had been paying the price. As I walked, I envisioned a future where I could trust again, where generosity would not be mistaken for naivety. I saw myself investing in myself, in the weeks that followed, I felt a mix of emotions. There was sadness for the loss of what I thought was true friendship, but also a profound sense of liberation. I started to invest in myself, in my own dreams and retirement, something I had neglected for too long. I learned that generosity isn't a mistake when it's given with true intent, but it must be balanced with self-respect. My friends, or rather, former friends, tried to reach out, but I had moved on. I realized that sometimes the hardest lessons teach us the most valuable truths about life and ourselves. The days stretched into weeks, and with each passing moment, I felt a growing sense of freedom. The financial chains that once bound me to my so-called friends were now broken. I began to redirect the funds I had so freely given away. Instead of supporting their dreams, I started nurturing my own. There was a certain thrill in watching my retirement account grow, in planning trips I had always wanted to take, and in investing in courses that would expand my knowledge and skills. I remember sitting in my office, the soft hum of the city, outside my window, as I opened an email from a financial planner I had recently hired. The subject line read, "Your financial future." Inside, there were projections, charts, and graphs, all pointing towards a future where I was not just financially secure but thriving. A smile crept across my face, not just for the numbers but for what they represented, my independence, my self-worth. The calls from Lisa, Mark, and Emily became less frequent, their voices tinged with a mix of confusion and desperation. They left messages, each one more pleading than the last, asking for another chance, another loan, another moment of my time. But I was resolute. I had given them too much already, not just in terms of money, but in trust and emotional investment. One evening, as I was preparing dinner for myself, my phone buzzed with a text from Emily. "Sarah, please, can we talk?" it read. I paused, fork in hand, contemplating the weight of her words. But then I remembered the cafe, their laughter, and the realization that I was... Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories. For you!